Howdy folks. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 mistakes you should avoid making when working with music libraries. So I sent an email out to several libraries that I work with today, and I got responses back from 5 different library owners. And I asked them, what do you want from composers? That was the subject of the email. And in the body, I was asking, what are the things that you would like to see composers do more of and less of? What's your wish list of things you would like to see composers doing? What drives you nuts? What makes it harder for you to work with folks? What would make you stop working with a composer? So I was happy to get that feedback, and I want to share the top 5, in no particular order, pieces of advice that I want to give aspiring composers, because we all know that it's very hard to get the attention of a music library owner. So once you do, you don't want to screw it up. The market's saturated. There's tons of composers out there, lots of great music being made. But how do you get seen? That's a separate conversation. But once you've been seen, once you've established that relationship, you want to do everything you can to nurture it, to take care of it, to avoid ticking the library owners off. You want to make them want to work with you. You want them not to think, oh, crud, there's an email from that person, okay? So here are some things in no particular order. Let's start with number 1. When a brief is sent out or they ask for music for a specific show, it may sound obvious, but watch the show. Find the show on TV, record it, find episodes online, grab your pad and pencil, and listen to the music. Why do that? Why not just, oh, they want hip hop? Boom, I can do that. They want trap? I can do that. Well, the problem is, lots of folks have their own interpretation of what hip-hop means, or jazz means, or EDM means. So one person's definition of jazz might be something entirely different than what you're thinking. The same thing for other styles. So go to the show to hear what type of jazz, hip-hop, EDM, rock, whatever. Because every genre is very, very broad, and you want to hit the target. So usually the brief will say, they're looking for music in this style, here's a sample episode, or this show, this section of this clip, or whatever. So go and listen to the reference files provided. It seems kind of obvious, but apparently composers out there will just send in stuff they think meets the category without researching the context of what's actually being used. Number 2, when you send your files to your library, make sure you check all of them. Listen to every file. Listen for abrupt starts, pops and clicks, or noises that might have happened during the file creation process. And most important, make sure the endings are all clean. You don't want any chopped endings, no reverb tails being cut off, no sudden abrupt endings of any kind. I'm not saying don't do stinger endings. A good button ending or a stinger ending is important, but you got to let that reverb tail naturally decay. And that includes the main mix as well as all the other alternative mixes. So make sure your files are all good. Number 3 is, speaking of files, make sure you understand what alternative mixes or alt mixes are. And make sure you understand what alt mixes each library wants, because they're all different. Some libraries I work with just want a main mix. That's it. I mainly do instrumentals. So they want just a main mix. They might ask for a full mix and a bed mix, which is the entire mix but the melody taken away. Some libraries want 8 or 10 different alt mixes, from full mix down to 10-second stinger endings, or 30-second edits, 1-minute edits. So there's lots of alt mixes, so make sure that you understand what alt mixes they want, and more importantly, make sure they're all the same length, except for the short versions like the 30-second, the stinger, etc. What do I mean by that? Let's say you've got a track, and you're going to do a full mix, and it's 2 minutes long. Then you might have an alt mix that is a no drums mix. But if that track has a drum intro, often a composer will think, oh, I'll just start on the downbeat of the first full measure and send that in. No, if there's a drum intro of a beat or 2 beats or a measure, and then the no drum mix alt has that silence, keep the silence there. Maybe there's another mix where you have large chunks of silence, or at the beginning or in the middle, anywhere, because of the instrumentation. you want all those tracks to be the same exact length. If there's a bar intro of percussion and you do a no drums mix, that bar of silence needs to be there. And that track should also be 2 minutes long, not 1 minute and 57 seconds. Why? Because the music editors, they want to be able to take your tracks and drop them all into their software. So they have them all lined up, and they can choose between the full mix. I'm going to go no drums here, and they don't have to worry about everything lining up. Oh, this one starts here, you got to start here, drag this to start there. It just makes their lives a whole lot easier. So all mixes must be the same. Can't be off by a second. Got to be exactly the same. Again, except for the 30-second mix and the stinger mix, etc. And this kind of gets to category 4, which is about following library guidelines. Make sure you understand how your particular library wants to receive their music, what they want. Do they have a specific metadata spreadsheet you need to fill out? Is there an online portal to fill out all that information for? Make sure you know how to use that portal and do it completely. Don't skip fields. That makes more work for the library owner. More stuff they have to go back and change or edit. I'm surprised how many times I've heard from libraries, thank you, Paul, for doing this completely. One guy said a couple months ago, you're the only guy I've got right now that's doing it right the first time. And I appreciate that, but because I treat this as a business, I'm a professional, you've got to focus on the attention to detail. I'm not an artist trying to create stuff. I am a musician and a composer trying to create music that will get on TV. And to get that music on TV, I have to make the people that get the music on TV happy. And that means we're meeting their requirements, which means meeting their library composer guidelines. When you join a library, you get paperwork you got to fill out, and you usually will have some sort of composer guidelines sheet or document that shows you everything that you need to do. How to do the metadata. What file formats do they want? Do they want WAV? Do they want AIFF? Do they want 16-bit or 24-bit? Do they want 44.1? Do they want 48K? All that stuff is there. So read the documentation, read the manual, and make sure that you send them exactly what they ask for. And then number 5, if you're going to use loops. Now, lots of folks use loops. Personally, I don't use any loops. I create everything from scratch. I want to avoid the potential copyright flagging, ownership headaches down the road. But lots of music is loop-based. So if you're going to use loops, make sure they're from a good source, of course, that's royalty-free. But then make sure that you chop them, that you edit them, you alter them in some way to make them unique or slightly different. Change the key, change the tempo, run them through some plugins to change how they sound. One of the library owners told me if he Shazams your track and another composer comes up, they will never work with you again. It's just too much of a headache. It creates paperwork processes and more work for library owners if there's a chance that your track sounds like something else from a Shazam perspective. Now, we all know that that's not a perfect science, but you want to do everything you can to avoid the Shazam black hole. So make sure that you alter, you modify, you make unique the loops that you're using. And this is kind of a sidebar, but do not take an example track from a loop library and submit that to a library as your own composition. I was stunned when this owner told me that, but it's been done before. So make sure you write your own music. Don't take sample example files from a loop track and say, hey, this is mine, thinking, oh, it's royalty free, I can just send the whole thing. That's not how it works. So to summarize, number 1, in no particular order, study the show, the references, make sure you understand exactly what type of music they're looking for. Then check your files when you send them. No abrupt endings. Make sure reverb tails are natural. Make sure they all start at the same time. Understand the concept of alt mixes and make sure you deliver all the alt mixes that your library wants. And that means gets us number 4, which is follow their guidelines. Follow your library's instructions. Make it easy to work with you. And then be original. Don't take stuff and send it in that's not yours. If you're going to use loops, chop them up, make them unique, make them your own. That's it, short video. So please try to take these things in consideration. Once you get that relationship, you want to nurture it and grow it. You don't want to tick them off. So I hope that's helpful. Good luck, good composing out there.